thanks for your invitation to introduce what we did with our sports centers and what's going to be the future, or nobody knows the future, but in the short term, how did we readapt our structures to the new normal? So, well, let me introduce first. UBAE is a non-profit organization based in the city of Barcelona, and UBAE runs and manages sports centers, public sports centers, under the brand Eurofitness. Well, suddenly in March 13, COVID came, and we had to close all our sport clubs. Our 9 sports centers, our 13 sports centers were closed, and it was suddenly, you show our worries a day before, but suddenly it comes to us. Then that was my storytelling after my latest day of work in the office. When I was going back home, that were the streets and the supermarket, which was important because supermarket was in the same way for a couple of days. Now, first we did was to plan an action plan, to set up an action plan. We built what we call the task force of crisis because we need leadership. We are managing about 300 employees in the company who are placed on the sports centers. Secondly, we check our cash flow, how could we survive, for nobody knew for how long. The third was how to attend our customers, and the solution was to communicate with them. And fourth was how to take care of our staff and collaborators. Then first option was, of course, to protect them. They were obliged to go home and follow the recommendations of the government as measures to prevent the COVID. And then we thought in how to activate them, because imagine that 30 people stay at home, nobody knew for how long, and sooner or later we were thinking on the day of the reopening. So the thing is how to keep active 300 people while they must be at home. The fifth was how to keep and to take care of the sport facilities. We have pools, we have halls, we have studios, we have fitness equipment. So we draw a plan about maintaining, updating, and repairing those things that happen on the sports centers. Six was how to attend and how to set up a strategy to follow with our main suppliers. We check who were going to be our strategic suppliers, for instance, cleaning services, and we draw a roadmap for them. But please pay attention to the next 2 steps. The seventh was we decide to develop a strategy for building capacity and train our staff, because we send the message about how to be back stronger. So we are performing webinars, training for instructors, for customer attendance staff, for maintaining staff, for managers, that we decide. But the 8th point, it's in the end of the presentation, you will see how does it follow. But how are we going to wake up of this COVID-19? How are we going to innovate our programs, our way to offer our activities to our members? And we really think that we should have to provide different things. And in the end, what we planned was to share all the knowledge we are getting, as we are doing right in this appointment, in this meeting. So about the staff, we create the issue of all the staff went to what the state declared an unemployment temporary status. That means in the area of Catalonia, close to 700,000 people went to this unemployment subsidy status. And we decided to create what we call the Ideaton. It was a way to activate our staff. We launched a competition of ideas to be implemented during this time or after the lockdown. So it was quite successful. We got close to 50 ideas from our staff. Some of them has been awarded because they are going to be implemented. We award this. So in the meantime, we launched some challenges to implement at home for our staff, and we consider they are keeping active on that way. About members, of course, we suggest them to train at home because it was not possible to train anywhere. In Spain, it was impossible to do physical activity outside on the streets. Your only activity you can do during the lockdown was to go to the street with your dog. Then dogs became the fittest animals in the city, or to go to the supermarket. So what we planned in this case was a range of activities that has been implemented through Instagram. These are the Alive Instagrams. In the Alive Instagram platform, we are implementing more than 50 workouts per week. So same instructors are providing from home the workouts to our members, and not only to our members. Let me see, to the followers of our social media. And then just an example about what happened at home. This is a slide I took from Italy, where you see how the sales of exercise and fitness got to practice at home increased by 5 times. So the increase of sales of fitness equipment to be implemented and perform at home increased by 5 times in Italy. This is in Spain, where the selling of trend miles, home fitness trend miles, increased by 1,000% at the beginning of the lockdown, in the beginning of March. The same happened with the yoga and fitness equipment, and home exercise bikes increased by 4 times, close to 5 times during the beginning of the pandemic. So in the end, I read this article that it's supposed that the practice at home increased by 22% in Spain. In our case, we implement our workouts through Instagram, but after a few weeks of performing, we are not sure that, of course, it was correct, because we are sure that we activate some people, but we don't know how did these people implement the activities at home. We have no feedback. We are not sure how was the experience of those who practice from home. What and how did they practice? I mean, if they did it properly, or if perhaps someone became injured, nobody knows. We have no feedback about the satisfaction about our offer. It means that, okay, we know how many engagement are we getting in the social media and how many people are following the lessons, but exactly we have no feedback about the success of the lessons. We are not sure if our members recognize the value proposal that we provided through Instagram, and we are not sure if they are ready to pay for that as a way to implement the new normal issue. So then that's the image that come to us. Okay, we were did it, but after the COVID, perhaps we can find this profile of people, profile of members. Then that's funny, because after 60 days of lockdown, authorities announced that people can do physical exercise, physical activity on the streets. And you see this picture was taken the first day after the lockdown, or not the lockdown, after the lifting of measures of lockdown protection, of COVID protection. I mean that for first time, that picture, it shows the first time that people were ready and able to go to the street to practice. You see only one woman with the yellow circle bring and wear a mask. Look at this. After 60 days of that people remain at home, close at home, that was the first reaction with the permission of do workout on the street. So it could be considered, if you see that happen in Florida, people protesting for opening the gyms during the lockdown. I took this image 2 days ago. That was a protest in Florida where people were doing push-ups and jumping on the streets, just complaining because of the closing of gyms. Well, with this scenario, we plan in the middle April, end of April, 20 April, we plan our manual.
I think we lost Tony, or the connection is weak. Are you back, Tony? Not really. Okay. Let's wait a few seconds to see if Tony can come back. All the rest are on board and you do hear and see everything. Good, thank you. Maybe just the internet connection is not so. Maybe there are too many people outside. Tony, you are with us. Okay. We don't hear Tony. I think you're Tony. Yeah.
Progressive and regressive management of the measures. Of course, we are considering the balance. We cannot become a surgery hall. We cannot do gyms as we cannot implement activities in the gyms as a surgery halls in the hospitals. So where is the balance between protecting people and the viability of opening the clubs? And for sure, we know that many of these issues will going to remain in the future in the clubs. Then we draw a manual in 4 phases. First, started just the first day after lockdown. Are we going to be ready to open again? Secondly, we have introduced the phase what we call the response and confidence, where we have to convince people in coming to our gyms as a way to consider us a safety place to practice. Of course, we need to take care of risk of injuries because many of them has been inactive. And at the same time, we don't like to talk about social distance. We simply say physical distance, but we assure that people are wishing to come back simply by the way that they need to explain each other's how did they do during the lockdown. And we need to inform to people, and for sure protect employees and users. Then we will jump. That will happen the first day we opening, which is planned by the medium 15th of June. And we will go into this the phase 2, what we call the credibility phase. Probably we will relax some access restrictions. We will increase attendance because in the first one, it was reduced to probably half of the capacity of the gyms, of the clubs. And we will increase the number and the intensity of the workout sessions. And in the end, in the latest phase, is what we consider the legacy. Some of the measures to protect people that we already implemented will remain in the club. So here you can see some images about the measures that we are going to implement. But now let us think about on the expectations and wishes of our members. That's some slide that show YouGov survey from the UK that says that 62% of those of people that were interviewed said that gyms will become uncomfortable after the lockdown. So they should prefer garden centers than gyms. You see in the below, 62% of those who answered the question said that they will feel uncomfortable in gyms because of the pandemic effects. Then this is a survey that was implemented in Spain, where people are saying in 21% of answers said that the lack of security don't allow them or will stop them to go to the gym, 22%. But here it appears another issue, is the fee. We are living in the drama of the pandemic and deaths and the illness results. But now we are sure that we will leave the tragedy of the economic crisis. So in some cases, people consider the fee as a way to not use the gyms instead of the risk of infection. We had the issue of China. In China, after the first week of the reopening after lockdown, it was reported that only 15% of members of customers or members of sport clubs came back to practice and to do workouts. So it opened to us a scenario of we must be worried about not only the measures to avoid infection to our members. We must be worried about the dynamization and how are we going to implement the activities? How are we going to award those loyal members that are coming back are doing physical activity in our clubs and how we'll do a work. This is a format that we are using. But now what's going to happen in the future? In the left side, you see an image of what was the Black Death in Europe during the Middle Age. Just to mention that during the 13th, 14th century in Europe, more than 25 million people died because of the Black Death. But do you know what happened after this period? It comes the Renaissance, the humanism, represented by the man of Vitruvio from Leonardo da Vinci. This is what we would like to think about. We have had a huge, and we are having a huge crisis, but now it's time to reinvent and to be focused on people, perhaps, to be focused on what should be the expectations and wishes of people. But of course, these people perhaps will change something in their behavior. First of all, and this is a slide coming for Ernst & Young Consulting, they announced what should be the changed behavior of consumers after COVID-19. And they agreed that probably they will become more demanding. Members, consumers, customers will become more demanding. They will like they will have greater control of spending. So the price, the sensibility for pricing will come back, like happened in 2008 with the Lehman Brothers crisis. Many people will feel not safe of infection, and they will like to see the traceability of all the process implemented. How did you clean? How are you protecting your workers? And how do you protect ourselves? It's expected a decrease of loyalty. People will look for more convenient alternatives for them. It's not only the fact that they were your members. For sure, they will look for other alternatives. At the same time, that has been demonstrated, they will increase the time at home, and they are hyper-connected. They will keep the distance each from others. And of course, the new trend of online shopping will increase. At the same time, which means an opportunity for sport clubs, is that perhaps some of this shopping will be based on health and body care products or activities. And at the same time, and that's important for the new normal, is that perhaps they will look for a different channel of relation with the club. Digital came to stay, and digital channel will remain for sure in the future. And now, what's the new normal? We are now reading and checking what's the messages linked to the new normal. For sure, under our point of view, world is changing. But the main thing is we had close to 50,000 members before the lockdown, but we are not sure where are they. They follow and they practice, they did the workouts we recommend probably, but we are not sure where they are and what are their expectations. We can assume, we can consider the expectations, but we are not sure about them. At the same time, we don't know how are they going to spend and in which goods or how are they going to contribute to sport clubs. Are they satisfied with the fee they already paid, or they are changing and they are looking for alternatives? It means that we have to consider if the way that we implement our value proposition will remain interesting for them, or we should have to change something, our business model approach, especially all what's linked to the online. At the same time, our recommendation is that perhaps we should have to add more talent in our board, different profile of people to our staff, and of course, we should have to decide quickly and check many things that we never checked before, because now it's time of changing, and then perhaps our strategic focus should have to change. And for sure, thinking on be different probably that you were, and be different than other proposals of value that your competitors will do. So I'm sorry for what happened with my slides, and I hope you enjoy and you found it interesting.
Tony, thank you very much.
Was
Thank
it
you
clear,
for good
Shaska?
presentation.
Did
Thank
it work? Did it work, Shaska?
Tony, very clear. And
Okay.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. And it is clear that you are, I can say, prepared for reopening or starting. Congratulations. So the floor is open now for comments and questions. There are some comments also in the chat box, but I would like you to voice yourself and share your thoughts. Marty? Yes, please.
Yes, thank you. I think that my mic is working now. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentations. Very interesting for the moment. And I was just wondering, it's a very open question, but how can sport clubs reinvent themselves to reassure people in coming back, but also in doing exercise in general?
Well, first, I think we have to look to our members more than ever, to look to the expectations and the way that they are performing physical activity. Probably at the beginning, most based at outdoor areas. Probably they will take care of physical distance for sure. That means that what's going to happen with some disciplines and sport events that are based in competition, and I'm thinking on football, basketball, and so on, team sports. But for us, more than ever, we have to look to our members' behavior and demands, because we have very nice buildings. It costs a lot of money to invest in buildings, but now people are looking for other, let me see, safety activities. And the way that we implement, perhaps based on more digital than offline, but the way that these activities are going to implement probably will change.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Marty, for the question. There is a question in the chat box as well from Viv from UK. And she says there are lots of examples of the behavioral changes of people regarding exercise in this presentation. So thank you very much. How will this impact and be reflected in young people?
I think for solving that, you have to add young people on the decision-making process. Because sometimes it's not easy. But now, if we really believe in the new normal, probably it's time to do that and to think in youth, not only for proposing activities, for organizing and leading as well. And of course, youth use another channels, probably another language, probably for sure another activities, but channels are important.
Thank you very much, Tony. Rosemary, please.
Okay, sorry, I was close. Thank you very much. I have a question, Tony. What is the position of the government? Are you receiving support from the government? I don't know, economical support, or just a clear statement of the government about physical activity and sport again for the people?
Yeah, the government, it's quite confused, the role of the government in terms of providing measures and recommendations to act. This is one side. The second is about economy. They already launched some soft loans, not only for sport organizations, for companies as well. But one thing is that they already check that almost 20% of small clubs could disappear after this. What are they proposing is to create synergies between small clubs and sport federations as well, on the way that perhaps they should have to join efforts for looking for the cost effectiveness. Of course, they promise some funding, but they know that probably these funds will not realize all the expectations of sport clubs. But the main message now is how to look for synergies between clubs, because very small one will went into problems after 2 months of stopping activities. So the solution, the expected solution is how to create synergies, which is quite difficult because between clubs normally is not easy. But how to find synergies between clubs on the way to maximize the subventions and subsidies, and on the way to look for the cost effectiveness.